I discovered my fiancé was cheating when his best man's wedding speech included photos of him with another woman, and everyone in the room knew except me. My name is Jessica, I'm 28, and I'm a veterinary technician in Nashville. My fiancé, ex-fiancé, Ryan was a regional sales manager for a pharmaceutical company. We'd been together for 5 years, engaged for 8 months. The wedding was supposed to be in 3 weeks. Invitations sent, dress altered, honeymoon booked to Bali. We'd met at a friend's barbecue, and he'd won me over by spending 20 minutes playing with my rescue dog instead of trying to impress me with conversation. He seemed genuine, kind, the type of guy who remembered your coffee order and called his mom every Sunday. Our life together felt comfortable. We had a townhouse in East Nashville, split the bills evenly, spent weekends trying new restaurants or hiking with my dog, Biscuit. Ryan traveled a lot for work, usually 4 or 5 days a month, sometimes more during busy quarters. I'd gotten used to solo dinners and FaceTime calls from hotel rooms. He'd complain about terrible airport food and boring client dinners, and I'd tell him about the animals I'd treated that day. It was normal. It was us. The wedding planning had been stressful, but exciting. Ryan let me make most of the decisions, which I'd appreciated at the time. "Whatever makes you happy, babe," he'd say whenever I asked his opinion on centerpieces or music. His only firm request was that his college best friend Marcus be the best man. They'd been inseparable since freshman year, same fraternity, same post-grad apartment, still talked weekly even though Marcus had moved to Atlanta for work. I'd met Marcus maybe a dozen times over the years. He was loud, charismatic, the life of every party. Ryan always got quieter when Marcus was around, like he was content to let his friend command the room. I'd thought it was sweet, how Ryan didn't need to compete for attention, how comfortable he was in Marcus's shadow. Looking back now, there were signs everywhere. They were just disguised as normal couple issues. Ryan had become protective of his phone around February. Not in an obvious way, he didn't snatch it away or change his password, but he'd started keeping it face down constantly. When notifications came through, he'd glance at them and quickly dismiss them. "Just work stuff," he'd say. Boring. His work trips got longer. What used to be Monday through Thursday became Monday through Friday, sometimes stretching into the weekend. "The client wants to take us golfing," he'd explain. "I can't say no. It's part of the job." I'd understood. Or tried to. Sales was competitive. FaceTime with clients mattered. He'd stopped being present during our FaceTime calls. He used to prop his phone up during dinner so we could eat together, even when he was traveling. But lately the calls were shorter, distracted. He'd be partially dressed, saying he had to jump on another call. Or he'd be in the car, saying he was heading back to the hotel after a late meeting. I'd hear restaurant noise in the background and wonder why he wasn't eating in his room like he used to. The sex had changed too. Less frequent, more mechanical. He'd stopped initiating. When I would, he'd go through the motions but seemed distant, like his mind was somewhere else. Once, afterward, I'd asked if everything was okay. "I'm just stressed about work," he'd said. "And wedding stuff. It's a lot, you know?" I'd nodded, feeling guilty for adding pressure. He'd started working out more. Got a gym membership at a fancy place downtown, the kind with a sauna and smoothie bar. He'd leave early on Saturday mornings and come back 2 hours later, showered and energized. His body changed, more defined, leaner. I'd complimented him, and he'd seemed pleased but brushed it off. "Just trying to look good in the wedding photos," he'd said. My best friend Amber had noticed things too. "Is Ryan okay?" she'd asked one night over wine. "He seems off lately. Distant." "He's stressed." I defended him automatically. "Work's crazy, and planning this wedding is overwhelming." "Maybe," Amber had said, but her tone suggested she didn't buy it. The rehearsal dinner was at an upscale restaurant in downtown Nashville. 50 people, close family, and the wedding party. Ryan's parents had insisted on hosting, had rented out the private room. The space was beautiful, exposed brick, Edison bulbs, long wooden tables set with candles and flowers. Everyone was there by 7. Ryan and I sat at the head table, his hand resting on my thigh, both of us smiling at the toasts. My dad went first, getting choked up talking about his little girl. My maid of honor Sarah gave a funny speech about our college days. Ryan's mom dabbed her eyes with a tissue, talking about how she'd always wanted a daughter. Then Marcus stood up. He was already drunk. I could tell by the way he swayed slightly, gripping his champagne glass too tightly. Ryan tensed beside me. I felt it through his whole body, a sudden rigidity that hadn't been there seconds before. So, Marcus started, his voice too loud. I've known Ryan since we were 18. And let me tell you, this guy has been through some changes.
People laughed.
Marcus continued. Ryan used to be wild, man. Party animal. But then he met Jessica, and he totally settled down. Became a one-woman guy. Ryan's hand tightened on my thigh, painfully. But you know what they say, Marcus went on. Old habits die hard. More nervous laughter. I glanced around. People were exchanging looks, uncomfortable, knowing looks. I mean, Ryan still got that charm, right? Still knows how to make the ladies smile. Marcus, Ryan said, his voice tight. Let me finish, bro, Marcus slurred. I made a whole presentation. He pulled out his phone, connecting it to the restaurant screen that had been showing our engagement photos. I put together a little slideshow. All the best moments of Ryan through the years. The first photo appeared on the screen. Ryan at his bachelor party, normal, expected. Then another. Ryan at a bar with his arm around a blonde woman I didn't recognize. Then another. Ryan and the same blonde woman at what looked like a hotel pool. Then another. Ryan kissing her. The room went silent. Oh shit, Marcus said, staring at the screen. That's not. Wait, that wasn't supposed to be in there. More photos were cycling through now, automatic slideshow. Ryan at a restaurant with the woman. Ryan and the woman in what looked like vacation photos, beach, sunset, her in a bikini. Ryan and the woman in bed, thankfully clothed but clearly intimate. The photos kept coming, a greatest hits reel of betrayal projected on a 15-foot screen for 50 people to witness. I couldn't breathe. The room was spinning. I could hear gasping, my mother shocked. Oh my God. Someone saying, turn it off. Turn it off. Ryan jumped up, lunging for Marcus's phone, but it was too late. Everyone had seen. The damage was done, immortalized in 50 pairs of horrified eyes. I stood up so fast my chair fell backward. The crash echoed in the silent room. Jessica. Ryan reached for me, his face white. Jessica. I can explain. Don't. My voice didn't sound like mine.
It was cold, detached.
Don't touch me. It's not what it looks like. It looks like you've been screwing someone else while I planned our wedding. Marcus was fumbling with his phone, trying to disconnect it from the screen. Bro, I'm so sorry. I was going through old photos for the slideshow. I must have accidentally. You knew. I turned to Marcus. You knew he was cheating, and you were still going to be his best man? Marcus couldn't meet my eyes. I looked around the room. At Ryan's parents, who were staring at their son with disgust. At my parents, my dad already standing, his face red with anger. At Sarah, who had tears streaming down her face. At the guests, some looking away, some watching with morbid fascination. Who else knew? My voice was rising. Who else at this table knew my fiancé was cheating on me? Silence. But I could see it in their faces. Ryan's college friends, sitting together at one table, were all staring at their plates. They knew. They all knew. The wedding's off, I announced to the room. Obviously. Someone will contact you about. I don't know everything. I grabbed my purse from the table. My hands were shaking so badly, I nearly dropped it. Jess, please, let's talk about this privately. Ryan was following me as I headed for the exit. There's nothing to talk about. I was walking faster, nearly running. I love you. It was a mistake, a stupid mistake. I whirled around. We were in the hallway now, away from the dining room, but still visible through the windows. How long? What? How long have you been sleeping with her? He hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. How long, Ryan? A year, he whispered. A little over a year. The floor dropped out from under me.
A year.
We'd gotten engaged 8 months ago. He'd been cheating the entire time. He'd proposed while sleeping with someone else. He'd helped me pick out a dress, sample wedding cakes, choose our first dance song, all while maintaining a relationship with another woman. "Get away from me," I said quietly. "Get away from me right now, or I swear to God." My dad appeared behind Ryan. "You heard her. Move." Ryan looked at my father, then back at me. "We need to talk about the house, the deposits, My lawyer will contact you," I said, even though I didn't have a lawyer yet. "Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't come to the house." I pushed past him and walked out into the warm Nashville night. My hands were shaking so badly, I couldn't get my car keys out of my purse. Sarah appeared beside me, taking the purse gently from my hands. "I'll drive you," she said. "Did you know?" I asked.
No.
"I swear, Jess. I had no idea." I believed her. Mostly because if she'd known, she would have told me. Sarah was incapable of keeping secrets. We drove to her apartment in silence. I stared out the window, watching the city lights blur past, trying to process what had just happened. My brain couldn't hold on to thoughts. They'd slip away before I could fully form them. Ryan was cheating. There were photos. Everyone saw. The wedding was in 3 weeks. Past tense. There was no wedding anymore. Sarah's apartment was small but cozy. She set me up on her couch with blankets and tea I didn't drink. I just sat there, staring at nothing. She sat beside me, not speaking, just being present. My phone started buzzing. Text after text after text. I looked at the screen. Messages from my mom, my sister, cousins, friends. All saying variations of the same thing. "I'm so sorry. Are you okay? What do you need? Ryan's a piece of shit." There were 17 missed calls from Ryan. I turned my phone off. At 2 a.m., I turned it back on. There was a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Jessica, this is Melanie. I'm the woman from the photos.
Can we please talk? I didn't know about you."
I need you to know that." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, "When did you meet him?" The response came immediately. "Last February. At a work conference in Austin. He said he was single." Last February. 14 months ago. He'd come back from that conference and taken me to our favorite restaurant. Told me he'd missed me. Made love to me like everything was normal. "Did he ever tell you the truth?" I typed. "Not until tonight." Marcus called him freaking out about the photos, and Ryan finally admitted he was engaged. I saw the pictures online. Someone posted them on Facebook. That's how I found out I've been the other woman for over a year. So she hadn't known either. We'd both been lied to. "Call me tomorrow," I typed. "We should talk." I spent the rest of the night on Sarah's couch, not sleeping, just existing in a strange liminal space between my old life and whatever came next. At some point, the sun came up. Sarah made coffee. I drank it and felt nothing. Melanie called at noon. Her voice was hoarse, like she'd been crying. "I'm so sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am." "Tell me everything," I said.
She did.
They'd met at the conference, hit it off at the hotel bar. He'd said he worked in sales, traveled frequently, wasn't seeing anyone. They'd exchanged numbers. He'd started making excuses to visit Austin, convincing his company to send him there for client meetings, taking personal trips, and telling his clients he was in town. Sometimes she'd fly to Nashville, and he'd tell me he was on a work trip when really he was with her at a hotel downtown. "He told me he lived alone," Melanie said. "Whenever I suggested visiting his place, he'd say it was being renovated or that he preferred my apartment. I thought it was weird, but not this." "How often did you see him?" "Every 2 or 3 weeks. Sometimes more." She paused. "He took me to Miami in January. 5 days. He told me it was a vacation." "Was he supposed to be with you?" "Sales conference in Atlanta," I said numbly. Or that's what he told me. The more we talked, the clearer the picture became. Ryan hadn't just been cheating. He'd been living 2 complete lives. He had routines with both of us, favorite restaurants with both of us, inside jokes with both of us. He'd been meticulous about keeping us separate. Different social media accounts. He told me he didn't like posting photos, so we barely existed on his Instagram. Melanie had shown me his other Instagram, the one where they looked like a happy couple traveling the country together. There are more photos, she said quietly. On his phone. I need you to see them. Not to hurt you more, but because you need to know everything. She sent them over the next hour. Screenshots she'd taken before Ryan had blocked her. Photos of them together spanning 14 months. Receipts from restaurants and hotels. Text messages where he'd said he loved her, that she was his future, that he couldn't wait to introduce her to his family. The same things he'd said to me. I forwarded everything to my email. Then I did something I should have done months ago. I went through Ryan's laptop, the one we shared at the house. Sarah had helped me break back in while Ryan was at his parents' place, probably being lectured about his life choices. What I found made me physically sick. There was a folder buried in his files labeled Work Conference 2024. Inside were hundreds of photos. Not just of Melanie. Of other women too. Different cities, different faces. Screenshots of dating app conversations. Tinder. Bumble. Hinge. All with profiles claiming he was single, traveling for work, looking for connection. He'd been cheating with multiple women. For years. Maybe the entire relationship. I found a spreadsheet, an actual spreadsheet, tracking his lies. Dates he'd told me he was traveling, where he'd said he was, where he actually was. Names of women. Hotel confirmations. It was organized, methodical. He'd been managing his cheating like a project. There were drafts of our wedding vows on there too, right next to messages to other women. I took photos of everything. Then I did something petty and satisfying. I posted it all to Facebook. Every screenshot, every receipt, every piece of evidence. I tagged Ryan, tagged our mutual friends, made it public. The caption was simple. Here's why the wedding's canceled. I hope it was worth it. Then I blocked Ryan on everything and waited. The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. Ryan's family called him, horrified. His parents had apparently already contacted a lawyer about recovering the money they'd spent on the rehearsal dinner. His sister posted a long apology on her own Facebook, saying she was ashamed of her brother and that she supported me completely. Ryan's company found out. Someone had sent them the screenshots showing he'd been using fake client meetings as cover for his affairs, falsifying expense reports, and using company travel budgets for personal trips. He was fired within 48 hours. His boss called me personally to apologize, which was surreal. But the real karma came from his friends. Marcus, the best man who'd accidentally exposed everything, posted his own confession online. Turns out he hadn't accidentally included those photos. He'd done it intentionally. He'd been angry at Ryan for months. Ryan had slept with Marcus's girlfriend 2 years ago, a betrayal Marcus had just discovered. The slideshow had been revenge, and it had worked spectacularly. Ryan's been a terrible friend and a worse person, Marcus wrote. I should have said something sooner. Jessica deserved better than both of us. The post went viral. Local news picked it up. Wedding called off after best man's speech exposes groom's affair. Ryan became a cautionary tale, a meme, the butt of jokes across social media. He tried to do damage control. Posted his own statement claiming the photos were taken out of context, that I was being vindictive, that the relationship with Melanie had only been emotional. But Melanie posted her own receipts, disproving every lie. Then 2 other women came forward with similar stories. Ryan's reputation was destroyed. He couldn't show his face anywhere without being recognized as that guy. He moved back in with his parents at 32. Last I heard, he was working at a call center, the only place that would hire him. The wedding cancellation was surprisingly easy. Most vendors refunded us once they heard what happened. Some even sent gift baskets with apologies for what I'd been through. The venue offered to host my new beginning party for free whenever I was ready. My dress shop let me return the altered gown for store credit. Our mutual friends divided. Most chose my side, but a few, mostly Ryan's college buddies, went silent. I didn't fight for those friendships. Anyone who could witness what he'd done and still defend him wasn't worth keeping. The house was trickier. We'd bought it together, both our names on the mortgage. My lawyer, I'd hired a real one by this point, advised me that with the evidence of financial infidelity, the falsified expense reports, the money he'd spent on affairs, I had a strong case for keeping it. Ryan agreed to sign it over rather than go to court where everything would become public record again. I got the house, Biscuit, and my dignity back. He got nothing. It's been 8 months now. I'm sitting on my back porch, watching Biscuit chase squirrels in the yard we no longer share. The townhouse feels different now. I've redecorated, painted the walls, replaced furniture that reminded me of him. I've made it mine. Work has been good. My coworkers rallied around me after everything happened. They'd taken up a collection and sent me on a solo trip to Colorado. The mountains, fresh air, time to think. I'd hiked alone for a week, and somewhere between the altitude and the silence, I'd started to feel like myself again. I've been on a few dates. Nothing serious yet, but I'm not rushing. I'm learning to trust my instincts again, to see red flags for what they are instead of explaining them away. Last week, I went out with a teacher named David who showed up exactly when he said he would, asked about my dog before asking about my job, and didn't look at his phone once during dinner. When he texted the next day, it was a simple, "I had a great time. Would you want to do it again?" No games, no ambiguity. Just honest interest. I said yes. Melanie and I still talk sometimes. We became accidental friends through shared trauma. She's dating someone new too, a guy from her kickboxing class who she says is aggressively honest to the point of being annoying, which she means as a compliment. We laugh about it, about how our standards have shifted, about how red flags aren't charming quirks anymore. Sarah and I have a standing Thursday night dinner, the night that used to be date night with Ryan. We try new restaurants, rate them, make ridiculous toasts to dodging bullets and finding better. Last week we toasted to Marcus, the accidental hero of my story. "May all best men be as messy," Sarah had said, and we'd clinked our wine glasses. I saw Ryan once, about a month ago. He was at a coffee shop with a woman I didn't recognize. They weren't sitting together. She was in line ahead of him, but I watched him try to start a conversation with her anyway. The same opening line he'd used on me 5 years ago. "Is that a rescue dog on your shirt?" I love rescue dogs. She looked at him like he was bothering her, gave a polite no thank you smile, and moved away. He looked older. Smaller somehow. When he saw me watching, his face went red. He left without ordering. I stayed and got my coffee. Added an extra shot of espresso and a cookie. Sat by the window and watched the world go by, feeling grateful, genuinely grateful, that I discovered the truth when I did. Before the wedding. Before children. Before another 5 years of living a lie.